were you in 2014? I was in my second semester of community college and making this YouTube channel. On May 6th, 2014, I made my first video. It was a booktube introduction and I've been here ever since. My content has changed. I have changed. I have learned a lot about myself as a reader and as a person. When I started here on booktube, I thought that I was a cis straight woman. And look at me now. My name is Alex and I am a trans man. It has been a journey. Today, as you're watching this, is my 10-year anniversary here on booktube and I still cannot believe I'm even saying that. I've been making videos for 10 years and I don't plan to stop. I have had so much fun, so I thought let's celebrate with a reading vlog. I am going to be reading the book that got me into reading and got this channel started. Will Grayson by David Levithan and John Green. Y'all, this is so full circle because the book that got me into reading was a queer book. I can still remember a lot about it. It is about these two boys who are both named Will Grayson. One is straight and one is gay. All I remember is they met in a sex shop and it's set in Chicago. How ironic is it that the first book that got me back into reading was queer? In some way. It has queer characters. And now look at me. My whole channel is dedicated to queer books. And I thought that I was cis. He thought, and he thought wrong. I am so excited for this video. I'm gonna be reminiscing, going back to 2014, and we're gonna make some cupcakes to celebrate my booktube birthday. And I'm also gonna answer some of your questions that you sent in. So let's get into it. Only 6 pages in and I already have thoughts. This is incredibly fatphobic just right off the bat. The chapter I am in is following John Green's Will Grayson, who is straight, and he has a friend, Tiny Cooper. This is incredibly fatphobic so far. Will Grayson just keeps saying things about Tiny's weight and also about him being gay. It's 2010, it's understandable. It doesn't make it right, but it makes sense to why it was like that, and I have a feeling that the book is going to go in a way where we're hopefully seeing some growth, because what I know from this book is Will Grayson meets another Will Grayson who is gay. So John Green's Will Grayson is straight and his best friend is Tiny Cooper, who is very flamboyant and feminine, and he is gay. And I didn't know this, but apparently he's on the football team as well. And Will Grayson just is super fatphobic. Like, the language that he uses, he just keeps saying that he's so large. Tiny Cooper is not the world's gayest person, and he's not the world's largest person, but I believe he may be the world's largest person who is really, really gay, and also the world's gayest person who is really, really large. Tiny has been my best friend since 5th grade, except for all of last semester when he was busy discovering the sheer scope of his own gayness. There's just this specific scene in my mind where I believe they're like about to go to like a club or something, and they go to this adult store and they meet the gay Will Grayson, who's David Levithan's Will Grayson. I'm gonna have to figure out like a system to say maybe like Will Grayson 1 is John Green's Will Grayson and Will Grayson 2 is David Levithan's. That might be a little bit easier than just saying David Levithan's Will Grayson and John Green's Will Grayson. That is just gonna be way too much. Then he goes on to say, number 1, after some school board member got all upset about gays in the locker room, I defended Tiny Cooper's right to be both gigantic and therefore the best member of our shitty football team. A big yikes. I would be so curious to see if John Green's books still hold up today. Just like the language and all, I feel like they probably don't, because if this was 2010, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of a deep dive. Like, Paper Towns is one of my favorite books, but I feel like if I had reread it now as an almost 30-year-old, I would have so many thoughts. So I feel like this is going to be a journey between us. I would love to know if anybody else has read this. So yeah, we just keep getting these weird lines about like Tiny being gigantic and large, and it's just uncomfortable. I'm curious to see how this goes, because I know that Will Grayson 1 is very much a miserable person and so I'll be interested to see how that changes. I'm just curious to see. Anyway, going to continue reading. Just wanted to update you because, wow, the fat phobia is so here. I'm gonna continue reading, and I'll see you once I have another update. Excuse the sweatiness. I just got back from a walk. But I am listening to the audiobook of Will Grayson because I just think it's going to be easier for me to be able to get this up in time and read accordingly because I've just been consumed with hockey. I just got to Will Grayson 2, so I had to pick up my camera because he introduced his friend, and her name is Mora, and oh my god, as soon as I heard that name, I had flashbacks remembering that this is the character I hated so much. I remember when I started doing tags, I would always pick her for my least favorite character. It's such a shame that I did delete a lot of my old videos because of things that happened. Basically, I just wanted my privacy to be safe after I came out, and I ended up deleting a lot of those videos, and I wish that I hadn't because it would be nice to be able to reflect on those just to know what I was thinking. But I know I hated this character so much. I hated her so much that as soon as Will Grayson mentioned her, I immediately was like, oh my god. I remember hating her so much. I think that she outs him. She does something so fucked up. I'll let you know when I get there, but I just am feeling cringy. There's a lot of language that doesn't age well, especially the fat phobia. And also, Will Grayson 1, he just talks so weird about gay people. I'm just not having a good time listening to him. Before we switch to Will Grayson 2's perspective, the Will Grayson 1 scene that I just ended on, they were at a club. And I do remember this. They got into a club with fake IDs and they were going to see some band, and the band isn't actually there. And I was thinking how interesting that scene was. Because if you don't know, David Levithan wrote Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, and I was getting those vibes. Even though that was John Green's scene, I have to feel that he might have gotten some inspiration from David. But that is all for now on this book. I am cringing very hard. And also just like, why is this my favorite book? Or it's not even my favorite book, just why was this the book that got me into reading? And also, both of these Will Graysons are deeply flawed. They have a lot of things going on. Like Will Grayson 2, yikes. I remember him being depressed and just being a very miserable person. I'm hoping to learn why. He was just so awful to his mom. There literally was just a scene that he said he gets onto the bus in the morning and he hopes that the bus catches fire and he dies. Maybe you should go to therapy. I was on my computer searching through Tumblr and my blog that I used to have, and I found a review for Will Grayson. So I thought, why don't we react to it together? One thing I will pride myself on is I have gotten to be a way better reviewer. I always loved to write, but like I've said in this video already, I didn't like to read. So it's really interesting to see how my reviewing style has changed over the last 10 years. So let's begin. Just a few weeks ago, I finished Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. I finished it in a week, which is pretty good for me. John Green is one of my favorite authors, although he doesn't end his books very well. To see him collaborate with another author was really neat. I loved this storyline. Suspense was there all the time. Oh my god, this is written so bad. I kind of disliked how the chapters went to each Will Grayson because I had to wait until the other chapter was done to find out. I actually am still like that. I understand now as a writer why, because like I say in the next line, that kept this suspense going, I guess. I did feel a connection to Will Grayson too. That's how I told them apart. Oh my god! I just did that now! I literally did that in this video. Not even thinking about it. I did feel a connection to Will Grayson 2, that's how I told them apart, more than Will Grayson 1. I understood why he didn't want Mara to know things and how he kept his distance. I loved his relationship with Isaac, and that made me happy. I was so happy for him until he got to Frenchie's. I started making predictions, and I really hoped it was just a catfish. Now, as I'm filming this, I'm still in the middle of the book, so I guess I'm kind of spoiling it for myself, but since this is a reread, I already knew. But I continue to say, I never really thought it to be Mara, honestly. Oh, okay, now I understand. I knew that she did something so horrible, but this makes sense. That made me heartbroken for him. Dude, oh my god, why was I so bad? Why did I just like cut sentences? I have no idea. I don't know why I just cut sentences like that. That made me heartbroken for him. Mara is a real bitch were my exact words. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh wow. Wow. I would have never forgiven her. I liked how they incorporated the two Will Graysons to meet each other. Will Grayson 1 should have told Jane that he was the one who requested the song. It was so sweet. I'm glad they ended up together. I kind of knew that Will and Tiny were not going to be a couple for long. They were too different. When they first kissed, it blew my mind. Okay. Dude, why do I cut the sentences? Like, dude, this could be one sentence, bro. What are you doing? Stop cutting them in half. Probably because I wasn't thinking anything of it. I am glad that Tiny changed his play around. It was perfect. I wish I could have physically seen it. I love this because I do remember being like, I wish that this was an actual play. We'll see if I still stand by this sentiment, because I remember reading it and being like, I really want to watch the play, and then I guess like a couple years later, the play came out in written form, which I still have to check if I have it. Will is lucky to have Gideon. He shouldn't have apologized to Mara though. Maybe I'm just heartless. I can't wait to actually read the book and finish it to know if I still agree with all of this. Overall, I like the ending, and I thought it was a great way to end the book. I would really recommend this if you love fiction. Okay. This is funny because this was my first review getting into the booktube space. I was a blogger before I was a booktuber. So I wonder when this was published. This blog doesn't exist anymore. I just have my Pucks and Paperbacks website. But what year was, when was this? Okay. April 28th, 2014 was my review for this. Which makes sense, because I think I read it like the 21st or something. That's when I started reading it. So my story does start in blogging before I even created a YouTube channel, but I always was creating YouTube channels. I feel like this is the story for most people, but I started making reviews because I think one of my friends was doing it, or maybe I just started doing it, I can't remember. But this is hilarious. I was trying to find to see if I had anything about why I hated Mara so much. If I were to give myself advice on this review now, 10 years later, I would have written that there were spoilers. Because I do put a lot of spoilers in here. I just think it's so interesting how far I've come, because oh my gosh, what are some of your favorite LGBT books? I'm always looking forward to reading more. It's one of my favorite genres. I love being educated on the LGBT community. Little did he know. Little did he know. In 2016, I don't think I had come out yet as a lesbian, but this had to be before. And it's just so funny that I literally had no idea. I always thought that I was just a cis straight woman. Never was the case. So that was fun. And also a great way to be like introduced to the book and what I have in store and what I was actually thinking about this book in 2014. While the cupcakes are baking, I thought that I would answer some questions that you sent in. So the first one is from Brianna over on Twitter, and she said, well, 10 years, amazing. Thank you. She has a couple questions here. First is, how do you plan your content out? And you probably already know this, but I am horrible with schedules. I cannot put out a calendar to save my life because I am just horrible with deadlines. So I casually plan my content out of videos that I would like to do each month. I do have the staples, but honestly, whenever I get an idea, I just write it down in Notion. That's where all of my content planning is. But I don't plan my content according to the month because it just never works out. I do try to schedule my content per month. Like in my Notion, I have video planners for each month, and I just put my ideas down of what I want, but sometimes they don't come to fruition. So I just have a bunch of video concepts and ideas in my Notion, and that is how I plan. But like I said, I'm not much of a planner. Next is, what is your favorite type of video to make? Reading projects like this. I love vlogs and themed reading vlogs, but they do take a lot of time. I just think that I'm more creative when I'm making vlogs. And if there was one book you wanted your channel to be remembered by, what would it be and why? This was a hard question because I feel like there's a lot of books that I'm known by, but I would love to be known by Icebreaker by A.L. Gracia Day. It's one of my favorite books, and I feel like it encompasses me so much, and I love it a lot. I want more people to read it, so I would love for me to be remembered by that book. In the comments, I would love to know what book you associate me with. Thank you, Brianna. Those were great questions. Over on my YouTube community page, I have 2 questions. One, what made you want to start a channel, and does it still motivate you now? I loved this question. I started out blogging, which I already mentioned in this video, but I started writing reviews because I was in a remedial reading class, and that's how I got into making videos and reading more, because I was required to read books and log them, which I hated so much, which I think is so ironic now because I'm a book reviewer. That's just writing a review. I was never taught as a kid to love reading. I always hated it because there was no adult in my life to tell me that it's fun. I always felt like it was a chore because I was always forced in school. Nobody asked me, hey, what do you like to read? I just remember being in school and I always read the same exact book. I never read anything else. It was really because I didn't know what else was out there. I mean, this was 2010. I graduated high school in 2013. Just had such a bad relationship with reading. So when I went to community college, I ended up failing the reading placement test because I had poor reading comprehension. And I was placed into remedial reading where I had to take this class in order to advance to English 101. So for that class, I had to log my reading. So I had to be actively reading. And one of my friends was a reader. So I was like, hey, do you have a book that I could read? So she gave me it. And then I started becoming obsessed with reading, and I just kept reading John Green. I hope that this angle is better because I checked and saw that my head was cut off. I'm filming with my front-facing camera, so I don't have a viewfinder. But I was talking about how I got back into reading, and it was through this class. I followed YouTube religiously since the beginning of it, and so I was on Tumblr, I was on YouTube, constantly online as a kid, and I loved following people and watching videos. And so, of course, I was like, oh, I want to do something like that. I always filmed my siblings when we were doing things as kids, and so I was the video guy. And in high school, I got into photography, and so I started making a channel because I love YouTube and I wanted to talk about books with other people. And there was this girl, Dana, who I had followed before she became a booktuber. I was looking her up one day and saw she had a booktube channel, and this was in the height of The Fault in Our Stars. I think that was the second book that I read. I'm gonna have to check my Goodreads, but I was consuming John Green a lot because that's what got me into reading. I read John Green in high school, and so his books were very familiar to me. But since I started reading, I wanted community and I wanted to talk to more people. So I saw that Dana had a channel, so I was like, cool, let me start a channel. And I had always asked my brother if I could use his camera because he was also a photographer but he said no, so of course I just stole it when he wasn't home. That is what made me start a channel, is just wanting community and to talk to more people about books. The cupcakes look great. They are baked, not underbaked. We're all good. Very brown. I love that. The second part of this question was, does it still motivate you now? And my motivations are way different now. I still want community and I love talking about books. That's why I am still making content, but I just still have so many ideas. This is my creative outlet and I love to read still. I work in publishing and I work with books, which I think is so interesting. And a great story of resilience from where I really hated reading. I didn't have any adults in my life that were showing me that reading is fun. I hated it because it was school. And now that I was in college and basically forced to read, I picked up a book. And I think it's also finding the books that you like. Everybody's a reader. They just have to find the book for them. And I always say, if teachers would have given me graphic novels, that would have helped me so much. I think that I would have learned more, but I also feel like I was failed in the school system, which I do have a whole podcast episode about when I had a podcast. So I'll link it down below if you just want to know more. But I just hated reading. And look at me now. I'm a book publicist. I read 100 books in a year once. Last year, I believe I hit 90. And I love reading now. I'm so happy. And I read queer books. It's so fun. So my motivations are way different now. I like to entertain and I also like to share books with everybody. I market my channel as your hub for queer and trans books and that I uplift queer books. And the other question from YouTube was, how has YouTube changed for you? I feel like I've already talked about this, but my reading taste is way different. I don't even think I was reading graphic novels in 2014. I don't even know if they were popular. I just remember when I started BookTube, I followed Booksplosion, which was Jesse, Christine, and Kat's book club. And I just read all of the books that they were reading, which is so funny because I cannot commit to book clubs today. I am horrible at that. I just remember going to Barnes & Noble and getting every book that they had recommended. It was Rainbow Rowell. I do have a picture, so I'll put it up here, of me holding a stack of books that I bought, and these were like the first few books that I ended up reading due to BookTube. So BookTube has changed a lot from the content. I was doing more tags and reviews, which doesn't happen much anymore, but we've reinvented reviews. People do the top 5 reasons why you should read a book. More like book recommendations and reading vlogs are super popular now. I was doing reading vlogs back in, I think, 2016. Whenever BookCon Chicago was, that's when I started doing more reading vlogs. But it's because another booktuber, I believe his name was Ben, he ended up doing a monthly vlog where he would just document every book he read during the month, and I started doing the same. And so, yeah, it's changed a lot. Like I said, I was reading queer books, but not as actively as I was now, so I've definitely changed. I only have a couple more questions, and these are from Instagram, so I'm going to start with this one. What is the thing you learned from those 10 years that you appreciate the most? And I've learned a lot. I taught myself how to edit. Just watched YouTube videos and I learned how to edit in Sony Vegas, and now I am in Premiere Pro. So I learned that. That's a great thing. Like I said, now I'm a book publicist, so those BookTube skills that I've had by creating content and reviewing books and being on the creator end of publicists reaching out to me is why I wanted to become a publicist. You don't know how many emails I get a week that are asking me to review a fantasy or sci-fi book, and it makes me so angry because as a book publicist, my job is to research people and get the books into the right hands. So I get so mad every time I open my inbox and there's a pitch for a sci-fi fantasy book, because if you took one look at my channel, you would know that I don't read sci-fi. This question's kind of hard because I feel like I've learned a lot. I've appreciated the friendships that I've made. I have a lot of great friends from BookTube. I think I've learned a lot, honestly, coming out as trans on the internet. And I've learned more about my safety and privacy and boundaries as well. Because when I first came out, there was a lot of people coming to me asking about being trans. Then I had a lot of other things happen, and that was very eye-opening for me because I really thought that like everyone was just going to be accepting and it was going to be fine, and it just wasn't. I honestly want to say that I appreciate that I learned editing, and I really appreciate all of the skills that I learned that have gotten me to this point, and I now have a job working with books. I appreciate everything, all the support that I've gotten over the years. I'm more happy that I've stuck to something for so long. I get hyperfixations and I don't stick to things very well. So I can't even believe that I never gave up. I have 3,000 subscribers and I did that. I'm so happy that I was able to do that. I have a lot of skills that I've gained from BookTube. So if you're a booktuber, maybe I should do a video of like what you could put on your resume, because BookTube is a skill. Everything that you are doing with content, writing reviews, and making your videos, they are skills. So I have been reflecting a lot on what I have learned, because I have learned editing. I said the book publicity thing. I know social media. I love learning about the algorithms. So if I finally, hopefully mastered the algorithm, but who has at this point? I know Photoshop. I know Premiere Pro. I read way better than I did as a kid, and my reading comprehension has gotten a little bit better, but sometimes analyzing the books, I'm just like, I don't know. You know, if you watch my reading vlogs, sometimes I'm just like, I don't know, I liked it. My last question is, what is your Bookish Roman Empire? This is my Bookish Roman Empire, the To All the Boys I Loved Before series. If you watched my videos from the beginning, I read this in 2014. I have reread this 5 times, and Jenny Han is my favorite. She has been my favorite author since 2014, but she is not the first book I've read. This is a whole movie series now. I remember watching the movie and was super excited. So yeah, this is my Bookish Roman Empire. If you didn't get to leave me any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and answer for you, or I'll do another video, because why not keep talking about this? This is a great milestone. 10 years of making videos, and a lot has changed. I swear I have impeccable timing, because this morning I woke up with horrible vertigo. It's subsiding now. I took some medicine, and so I think I'm gonna be good. I really want this video to get up today because it's Monday, it's my booktube anniversary today, and that is the whole point of this video. But I did finish Will Grayson, and I don't really have much more to say about it, besides it is super fat phobic. Like, the fat phobia continues. The last line of the book is a fat phobic comment about Tiny, and I just hated it. I liked that there was mental health rep. Will Grayson too is depressed and he takes medicine for it, and the character development was there. However, I do still agree with what I wrote in my original review, where I mentioned that Will Grayson too shouldn't have apologized to Mara. I was so taken back when he apologized to her. I think it was more so because he like stopped talking to her and was being mean, but honestly, she catfished you, and it was for her own gain, and she tried to out you, and it was just so bizarre. It was disgusting, but I will say I'm glad that character development was Will Grayson too, learning what friends are, and what he didn't like in Mara, he ended up gaining in Gideon. The book was fine, but I would not recommend it today in 2024. Let me know if you've read it, and that is the end of this vlog. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you've been following me from the very beginning, or you just started following me, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in my next vlog. It is going to be my queer sports blog for my birthday. My birthday is May 19th, and so I'm going to be reading some queer sports books. And on Friday, I announced on Instagram and my community tab why I've been teasing the book Out of Our League. It is a YA queer sports anthology, and I am going to be the guest this month for the book club Queerthology. So if you want to join me and the founder of this great book club, Chris, it is a book club dedicated to reading queer, trans, BIPOC authors and their reading anthologies. So if you like anthologies or you want to read more queer anthologies, go give Chris a follow. All of the information is in my Instagram post, and I am going to be the guest for May. So I'll be reading the book and writing a review for the Queerthology Substack. So I would love if you would go and show them some support. Anyway, that is the vlog. Thanks again for watching and for all of your support. I hope to see you in my next video soon. Bye.